listen, we're not dealing with car sales, or we're not dealing with house sales or widgets. We are literally dealing with people's lives.
Welcome back to the Pursuit of Profit podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Matt Staley, founder of Trua Senior Living Locators. Today, we're discussing the massive opportunity in the $300 billion senior care industry, how he's generating over $600,000 in revenue with 2 employees, and why the senior placement services is so rewarding and provides their franchisees with a lasting legacy. We hope you enjoy the show, and please follow us as we drop new episodes each week on Wednesdays.
So congrats, Matt. So you're working with Jason Barclay?
Work very close with Jason. I've already been on the phone with him twice today. Then we partner with SMB. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
You're working with some good people. Know really those guys a long time, and we know Jason Barclay a long time, and good folks, and just a ton of franchise knowledge there. Man.
Jason's awesome. Like I said, I'm on the phone with him every day.
I'm talking to someone last night. I'm on the phone with this guy for like a half hour is my last call, and he's like, man, you've spoken more about people than like brands and business opportunities on this call. And I'm like, you know why? Because we know a lot of really cool brands, and there's been a lot of great ideas in franchising that have gone nowhere because you have the wrong people behind them. It's like, man, it's really all about the people, especially with the young brands. Any franchisees yet? How's it going?
Yeah, so we officially launched in August of 23. We signed our first franchisee in September of 23. It was a 3-territory deal, and they're in the upstate South Carolina, so Greenville, Anderson, and Spartanburg. We just signed a gentleman in Raleigh, North Carolina, nice. A 1-territory deal, and I better cross my fingers and knock on something because we just got a verbal for a 3-territory deal in Charlotte.
Very cool. Yeah, you'll gain some momentum. I'm sure, Cliff, you hear this the same way I do. A large percentage of the people that I speak to talk about senior care, right? Like the first thing that comes up is, there's a lot of people are getting older, the aging baby boomer generation, 10,000 people turn 65 every day in this country. And I think I want to capitalize off of that. And then they learn a little bit more about that business, how many employees are required, kind of a complex business, really a staffing model. And most of those people don't end up getting involved in senior care. Your model is the opposite. So this is a way of being in this personally rewarding business, helping families in a time of need without having all of this labor. So explain to us the Trua model and what you do placing people in facilities.
Yeah, so I'm actually a physical therapist. I worked in assisted living facilities for 15 years. I worked for a company where they would send me to different communities throughout the area, and I would treat their residents. And one of the things I noticed was a lot of my patients were being misplaced, meaning they were going to facilities that they never should have been in to start with. And as a result, they would care out of the facility. So 6 to 12 months, their care needs would become too great for that particular community to accommodate. So they'd have to move again. And I would do evaluations on new residents coming in. And so many times I would think to myself, what are you doing here? Mm-hmm. Who made the recommendation for you to come here? Because quite honestly, this is not going to be a good fit for you. It may be a good fit for you today, but you're probably not going to be able to stay here long, given your past medical history, your comorbidities, and some of the functional implications that come along with those. So in 2019, I approached my wife, and her background is occupational therapy, and she worked in assisted living communities as well. And I said, listen, I feel like there's a broken model here, and I think I can help address this need that is at least in this area. At the time, I didn't know a business like this existed. I was like, there's a need, there's got to be something we can do. So we officially launched in November of 19 and basically just getting the business formed and all that. And then January 2020 is when I really started hitting boots on the ground marketing. Within, as you know, 6 weeks later, the country shut down with COVID. Mm-hmm. So senior housing was the last place people wanted to be. So I was kind of stuck there for a while, the first half of 2020. But restrictions started to lift and things started to open up. And, one thing led to another. And we just started to grow and grow. And my idea was just to stay here in Northern Kentucky, but then we were getting calls for Cincinnati. We were getting calls for help down in Lexington, Louisville. So I'm like, okay, how can we scale this most efficiently? And we finally came to the decision. I feel like franchising is the best way to go to reach as many people, that were in a situation like I did. I didn't want to do physical therapy for the rest of my life. I did all the settings, hospital, nursing homes, home care, outpatient sports medicine. I feel like I need a new challenge, and that's how we eventually landed on this.
Can I just make a comment, Cliff? I feel like how many founders have we spoken to on this podcast that started their business?
That's right.
Just as COVID,
that's right.
So, and I don't know what to make of that, but two things come to mind. One, there's no perfect time to start a business. You never know what's going to happen. So just start the business and get moving. Two, just when it seems like the world's about to end, like during a global pandemic, it never does. So if you're in business and the shit hits the fan, just keep going, because all of these founders are on the other side of a global pandemic and killing it in their business.
I have witnessed that, where people will give up within striking distance of the finish line. It is unbelievable to me. I think people sell stocks right before they spike. I think people get out of business right before they're about to break even. It is amazing. I think that's what any business owner, it's like best advice. Like, don't give up. Keep going. What's with the quitting? What's with the failure as an option? Like, just keep going. We see it all the time. We go back to all the founders, as Justin said. They all went through hell, literally hell, leveraging their house, fighting with a spouse. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's painful. You got to fight like hell through it and win. I give you a ton of credit. Here's what I didn't get out of this, and we have to be careful, right, as the co-host, because we know what you do, but the audience has no clue what you do as of this moment, right? So let's go back and just level set. Yes, you're in the senior care space by the way, for the audience, this is a $300 billion industry, and this is massive. Just in-home senior care alone is $23 billion in this country, which is just remarkable. And you won't find a better CAGR than this space. 13%. I don't know if Justin, if you know that, 13% is the compound annual growth rate for this space. So there is a very long runway. So Matt, let's go back. Justin started out with in-home senior care, and then he kind of showed you the hair on it. Yeah, you're going to need 50 employees. You're probably not going to find them. You sure you want to do this? It's a glorified staffing model. In comes you saying, wait a minute, I'm in the senior space, but I don't resemble any of those negatives. Really, in a granular way, what exactly are you doing in the senior space?
Yeah, great question. So what we do is we help seniors and their families find appropriate assisted living options when they can no longer safely live at home alone and they have to go somewhere. So what we do, we've taken our clinical model, our clinical background, and just so you know, for those who are listening, you don't have to have any clinical background to join this franchise. We've already put the systems and processes in place. It's basically a plug and play, just follow the system. But we took our years of knowledge of working in assisted living communities. We developed an intake form, especially since I've worked in assisted living communities extensively. I know what they're looking for. I know the requirements to get in and out, what they can and cannot do. Because listen, all assisted living communities are not created equal. They all use their licensure different. So we developed an intake form, and then what we did is we developed a software so that we can take the elements of that intake, we can plug it into the software, and it will eliminate communities that will not be appropriate for our clients. So our motto is we want to get people to the right place the first time, because I don't know if you've ever had experience of having to place a family member or friend, but it's very stressful. It's an extensive process. And if you don't get it right the first time, it can be very expensive. Mm-hmm. So we do all the hand holding, we do all the leg work, and we take them from start to finish to, when we first meet them, we'll take them on tours. So once we plug the information into our software, here's the list of communities that are going to be appropriate based on a number of criteria. And then we sit down with the family and say, hey, based on what you guys have told us and then based on our assessment, we feel like community A, B, C are going to be the most appropriate to start with. And so what we'll do is we'll set up the tours. We'll go take a tour with them. So we take them around and show them, hey, these are the places that are a good fit, and here are the reasons why they're a good fit for your particular situation. And then, just follow them until they get moved in.
Matt, what are some of the things that go wrong? Is it like, a family member has Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or dementia, and the facility that they're in isn't equipped to handle these specific diseases or ailments? Is that what happens?
You know what? You brought up two really good points there, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Okay, let's say somebody has early onset Alzheimer's or dementia, and they're really not showing any, clinical signs just yet. Well, a family member might say, well, they're not really a flight risk, and they're not really showing any signs or symptoms of the disease process just yet. But that particular community, let's say, for example, in this case, does not have a secure locked memory care unit, because Alzheimer's dementia is a progressive neurological disease. I mean, it's going to get worse. That's just the way it works. So maybe they're not showing signs and symptoms right now, but in a year, they're getting forgetful. And then you just place them in a community where they can't stay. So that's a situation where we like to educate families and say, hey, you're probably going to want to look for a community that has this because of the following reasons. One of the biggest factors we see with Parkinson's are the falls. Some communities are better equipped to handle falls. And that's another thing, the clinical background, we want to keep people out of the hospital. So we want to, if we have somebody who has Parkinson's and they're falling a lot, we want to go gear it towards a community that has protocols in place that will address falls, that won't automatically just send the resident to the hospital just because they had a fall. So, we take all that into consideration.
Matt, stop me if I'm wrong. I have presented, we had Chuck Bongiovanni on the show. He's now with Majestic Residences, but he's the founder of Care Patrol. Mm-hmm. And when we presented the model, because the prospective franchisees sometimes just they're like, I don't really get it. And I'm like, okay, and stop me if I'm wrong. It's your business, not mine. But this is how I try and explain it so that clients can understand it. I said, you're going to go out in your market and you're going to catalog. I use that word, right? You're going to catalog, visit walkthroughs, meet with the director of all these facilities, nursing, assisted, SNFs, memory care, and so on. And you're going to, how many beds? Oh, 85 beds. Okay. What's your ratio? Oh, it's 70-1, right? What's your vacancy ratio? What services do you offer? How will you handle fall risk? Do you have the I've fallen and can't get up, bracelets on these people? What safety protocols do you have in place? What are your ratings? Each facility is rated on the number of falls, right? Now, this is where I think it hits home with people. I go every day in this country. There is a family member getting a phone call. Your mom is in the hospital and she is not safe to go home. You need to make arrangements. The whole family looks at each other saying, she can't live with me. Mm-hmm. Like, I've got kids, I have family, I have a career, I work in the city. How are we doing this? The social worker, the discharge planner, right, in the hospital says, call Matt. Matt's company provides a free service, and they will guide you, advise you based on mom's comorbidities, mom's falls, whatever mom is dealing with, and they'll help you identify a facility to put your loved one in.
It's very accurate, and I will tell you this, and I have the utmost respect for social workers, and they just don't have the time to vet these communities as extensively as we vet them. They don't have the time to take their patients out and tour these facilities like we do. So we tell the social workers, like, look, we know you have a lot on your plate. Completely respect what you do. Let me take some of that off your plate. This is what we do. I mean, we will completely take this off your plate. We will handhold from start to finish. So yes, I mean, I think what you just described hits it right on the head.
Any other services in there?
So let's say an adult child lives out of town and they can't get in town. Mom's house needs to be sold, cleaned out. I can't come into town to do that. While we don't do that at Trua, we are networked with people in our area all I have to do is make a phone call and say, hey, I got this client I'm working with now. They need to sell their house and they need it cleaned out. So we will supply them with those resources and help facilitate that process as well.
Justin, while we're here, how is the franchisee? It's a free service. They meet with the family. They show them, let's just say they show them 5 facilities. The family goes, you know what? Location B is in budget. We want to put mom there. How are you compensated for that placement?
Yeah, so we don't charge our clients or our families anything at all. So we are actually compensated by the communities themselves.
Give us a range.
On the amount?
Yeah. I mean, look, these places, I have personally, when you say maybe you guys have had, I've personally had my mom's mom in a memory care facility in Naples, Florida. This is decades ago. It was $7,000, $8,000 a month. It completely destroyed her estate. If you ever want to see the fastest estate erosion in your life, put a loved one in a facility without insurance coverage. You will end up inheriting zero. It'll just completely destroy the estate. Secondly, my in-laws are now in a assisted living facility. It's insanely expensive.
And I was mentioning earlier that not all these assisted living communities are created equal. So to answer your first question, there's a wide range of costs. Independent living could be anywhere from $2,500 a month. Memory care can be up to $10,000 a month. Most assisted living communities are a la carte pricing. So you're getting 2 charges. You're getting charged for the rent, and then you're getting charged at what they call a care level. So depending on how much care you need, that will ultimately determine how much you're going to pay. Now, there are some exceptions where some communities offer an all-inclusive pricing model. And that's where we kind of get into the weeds a little bit, like, go back to if we have a condition we know is going to get worse, we educate the family and say, hey, your care needs are probably going to get pretty high in the near future. We may want to consider looking at some all-inclusive pricing models as opposed to a la carte. And here's the reason. And then we'll draw it out for them. This is what you could potentially be paying for a la carte pricing. This is what you could potentially be paying for the all-inclusive. So, I like to think of us as, consultants but more educators. I have my own personal experience of having to place my grandmother in assisted living 15 years ago. And I was surprised, for lack of a better word, how ignorant my family was when it came to this process. The majority of our phone calls that we get for the first time, the person on the other line usually ends up crying. It's because it's a very hard time in life. But, they're like, I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know what to look for. So I'm like, okay, that's not a problem at all. That's what we do. We'll walk you through this. And, we just try to put their minds at ease.
So what are we getting? What, 1 month's fee?
Yeah,
2 months?
1 month's fee.
1 month. Okay. Matt, I don't know you. I just met you. You seem like a likable guy. I could see you being compassionate and empathetic, right? Dealing with these highly emotional situations. But you also have to get to know the discharge nurse, right? There's a networking component to this. You didn't have like a sales background. You were a physical therapist.
Right.
So how important is that? You have to have both, right? You have to be able to sell, you have to be able to go out and network, build relationships, but also be compassionate, empathetic, and consultative.
Yeah, it's funny because we were actually interviewing for a position here locally for our corporate. And I said, there's 2 traits I want in an employee and a franchisee. First and foremost, your heart. You have to have a big heart. You have to be empathetic. You have to show compassion. Listen, we're not dealing with car sales, or we're not dealing with house sales or widgets. We are literally dealing with people's lives. And they're being presented with a situation where I've lived in my house for 25, 30 years independently. Something happened. I had a fall, broke a hip, whatever it may be. And now I'm being told I have to go live in assisted living. That's devastating. I mean, it's a lot for people to handle, and rightfully so. I wouldn't want to do it, but that's what I'm saying. It's like whoever you're going to bring in, they have to be compassionate and show empathy. I mean, that's what Trua is. Trua literally means compassion. So that's on that side of it. And then on the other side, for a business owner, a franchisee that's coming in, we want somebody who's intrinsically motivated, that has those intangibles, that, display grit, want to go out there and have that owner's mentality where I'm going to develop this location. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to network, I'm going to market, I'm going to develop these relationships and, provide the very best customer service I can. And I really feel like if you have those two personality traits, you can really succeed in this. We can teach you the other stuff, but I can't teach you compassion, and I can't teach you grit. So that's got to be something that franchisees have got to bring to the table.
I find that most people who are interested in these types of businesses had some experience personally utilizing these types of services and understand how they benefited. And it's like, man, I like that must be so rewarding. I want to not only give back, but also build a decent business. I mean, you're making some good money, man. You're making way more than you were making as a PT, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, full transparency, I couldn't make this as a physical therapist what we do now.
It's true, Justin. You look at these people. It's like when someone calls us up for restoration, I'm going, excuse me? What happened? I had a flood a couple of years ago. Yeah. It's like, I knew it. Like, who calls for restoration?
What happened? My toilet just backed up.
And exactly. And I'm like, did you see the invoice? They're like, well, that's actually what's prompting this call. Right. The invoice was $12,000 for a water leak in my house. And I'm like, holy shit, did they really make that much money? And in Matt's world, it's why this? And it's like, well, I had a grandparent, a parent, I had a loved one, we had a stroke, we had this. It's always the case. It's like, I see what they don't see. It's interesting what they see. They don't see like, hey, this is a great opportunity. What they all see is this is an underserved market. There was a void here and we need to fill it because there was no one really there to help me. And that's why I like this business model, because we were left to our own devices to figure this out. And that's painful. And it's like, we can't allow other family members to go through what we went through. And hence these models that are now, that's what I love about franchising. They just see voids, they live life and they fill them. They just keep filling voids. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's definitely not right. We can do it better. And then someone comes up with an idea like Matt. And all of a sudden it's like, yep, we address that very issue that probably everyone will deal with. There's 50 million people in this country that are over 60. We're aging and aging and aging, and we're not backfilling with babies. You need youth to care for the elderly.
The population in this country over 65 will grow from 56 million to 73 million, and about 1% to 2% of them every year will go into facilities.
A lot of women, mainly women. There's 70% of assisted living are female. 30% are men. So this is like, who's your target? Over 60, female. Like, that's my market. Yeah. It's a massive market. And they live longer in there anyway. When I was an investment banker, Matt, and when I was buying long-term care policies, they had no data. They knew nothing. Because at that moment, there were 10,000 baby boomers turning 50, right? I'm 50. So back then, it was, hey, did you know that 10,000 baby boomers are turning 50 every day? I'm like, wow. 10 years later, did you know that 10,000 turn 60 every day? We are officially in, do you know that 10,000 turn 70? Like, these numbers are getting crazy. It just keeps aging and aging. But what they learned is that you could put a woman in an assisted living facility and she could live there for years. But you put a guy in there and he's dead in like 22 months. Like, he's out. It's like, you just stripped me of my car, my independence. This woman is wiping my ass. Like, get me out of here, right? Yeah. That's the reality of these facilities. But, and I'm not shrinking it. It's life. You age, and if you don't have a loved one to care for you like they do in Japan, look, this is America, and unfortunately, this is where we put our parents. We put them in facilities. We don't put them in our spare bedroom on the first floor. It's just not our culture for whatever reason. I happen to love the model. I also have a stat for the audience, which is the median cost of a one-bedroom assisted living in the country, not Kentucky, in the country, is $4,800.
Yeah.
$4,800 for a one-bedroom assisted living. I'm using a national average, not the area that we're discussing today.
And you know what that cost doesn't include is the care. Because the care
that's just the room.
Just as much as the room.
That's right. That's rent. That's rent. Yeah.
But,
It is.
kind of jumping back to the point you made earlier, and I mentioned is nobody wants to move into assisted living. At least nine out of 10 people do not want to go to the assisted living. I get that. But once they get in there, give them a couple weeks to acclimate. Most people love it once they get in, because I would see it. I mean, because I would follow my patients the whole way through. It's like they realize, oh, well, there's a lot of socialization here. My day's filled up because they're always, it's the activities calendar is full any place you go. And it's carefree living. You don't have to cook for yourself anymore. You don't have to clean anymore. Your meals are done for you. So the idea of it, if you've never been into assisted living, is kind of intimidating. But I would see firsthand that most people acclimate pretty quickly and really enjoy it.
It's true. That's true with my family members. I agree with you. Reluctant, kicking and screaming. Don't do it. I heard crazy stories about these places. They walked in, it was like a hotel. Mm-hmm. They actually kind of act like they're on a cruise ship every day. Your meals, all the activities. Seriously, there's activities galore, whether it's
happy
art,
hour.
There's entertainment, there's music, they bring in comedians, and of course, everything is geared to their generation. So it's all relatable. Everything they do is relatable. It's like, the big band type stuff. It's like, we're not going in there with Taylor Swift and 50 Cent. We're going in there with a big band.
That's funny.
I speak to my in-laws all the time. Like, we're going here, we're going there. My wife will call them up and it's like they're not available. That's because they're having this little lunch and learn. So yes, once they get in there, they realize that it's not the war story that their grandparent or their parent told them.
Think about when Gen Z is in assisted living facilities. You're not gonna hear a peep. No big band. They're all going to be playing video games in their rooms by themselves. Just think about that, right?
The new statistic is 100% of Gen Z and millennial residents have arthritis in their thumbs.
Every room has Nintendo Wii.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully Call of Duty is still around when I
That's right.
My life, or Madden.
That's so true. Hey, how are you seeing this stuff getting paid for? Are you, as a percentage, what's private? What's long-term care? What's paid by, Medicaid? What are you seeing?
So we deal primarily with private pay. We do help veterans. Now, there's a lot of requirements. There's a benefit called aid and attendance, and we will help assist veterans get that benefit because it can offset a large chunk of that monthly cost going into assisted living. Those are the three primary pay sources: private pay, if it veterans, aid and attendance benefit, and then long-term care insurance. So we don't deal with any sort of Medicare or Medicaid payment at all.
Let's talk a little bit about the marketing piece. Justin was going there, and I don't know what happened. We went down a bunny trail. So let's talk about franchisee is onboarded. They go through training. They're taught what they need to be taught to be job ready day one in the field. Who are they marketing to? How are they getting referrals? And who is the feeder? Like, you want to go after this person, elder care attorney. You want to go after a discharge planner. Where are the referrals coming from?
So we found the hospitals are where we're getting the majority of our referrals. Not everybody discharges straight from the hospital to an assisted living. There's usually a continuum of care that they follow. So we'll say, hypothetically speaking, I fall and I break my hip. I go have surgery. I'm at the hospital for 3 to 5 days. And then depending on how well I'm doing, I'm either going to a skilled nursing facility for further rehab, or I'm going to a rehab hospital for further rehab, just depending on my tolerance level. So then we'll follow that particular client from the hospital, and we'll follow their progress at the skilled nursing facility, or we'll follow them at the rehab hospital. And we're often getting referrals from those two places as well, just because we're there so often. We'll get calls from skilled nursing facilities and rehab hospitals who have patients. Hey, this person, they thought they're going to be able to go home. They can't. We only have a few days. I may need more help, but insurance says I don't. So I got 2 days, and they just notified me today that you're discharging Monday. So most people are like, what the hell am I going to do? We work very quickly in situations like that. Elder law attorneys, you mentioned that earlier. And, you guys were mentioning earlier the private duty home cares of the world. Let's say a private duty home care has a client on their schedule, and now they need more care, and now they're required to have 24/7 care. Well, depending on what part of the country you're located in, you're looking at 28 to 30 grand a month. Wow. Most people can't afford that. So they're like, what do? We have to go to assisted living. So those agencies will call us and say, Matt, hey, we got somebody, they need 24-hour care. Can you help us? They can't afford to stay with us. So we'll work with them. We also work with the skilled home care agencies, the people who go into people's homes and do the physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and nursing. We work very closely with them. And then honestly, a lot of our referrals come from word of mouth anymore. Just people know who we are, what we do, the service we provide. And I'll get a call, hey, you helped my neighbor's dad. And they said, you did a really good job. We're in a similar situation. Can you come and help us? So yeah, we get a lot of word of mouth referrals.
Yeah. These people now just jump on Facebook, jump on X, put it out to the world, dealing with a parent. What do you suggest? And you're right. Mm-hmm. People pile on with answers and referrals and so on. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Matt, could we take your business as an example? So you have an item 19. I'm assuming this is for your corporate affiliate location. Mm-hmm. You're showing top line gross sales of $661,000 with a gross profit of $298,000. That seems like a big business. I always viewed this model, Cliff, as a solopreneur model, right? You don't need any employees. Go out. If you generate, $200K top line, you're going to have a high profit margin. You can replace a 6-figure income. All good. This is big. This can't just be you.
Yeah. So I maybe work 2 to 4 hours a week. We put systems and processes in place. The motivation behind that was the franchising. So we hired people to replace me in the field. We have 2 full-time reps that cover Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati. Matter of fact, we're in the process of hiring a 3rd full-time rep too, because they can't handle everything. I don't want them getting watered down to the point where the customer service is affected. I'm so big on customer service. So if I feel like they're getting a little overworked, we're going to bring people on.
So you have 2 going on 3 people out there full-time, building and maintaining relationships, doing, I guess you call it consultations or something like that with families. If I'm starting this business, I'm assuming you would want me to be fully involved initially, and then yes, I could eventually grow into more of an executive model over time. Walk me through a typical day in the life when you were working in the business full-time. What does it look like?
Yeah, so it's going to look in the very beginning, and I tell the franchisees this too, it's going to be a lot of networking, a lot of marketing, and you have to learn your communities. So we have a form in our software that you have to fill out. You have to tour the communities. I mean, how can you recommend a place if you've never stepped foot in it? So, we vet the communities extensively. So that's a big part of the startup. Also, it's a juggling act, because you got to do that. Then you got to get out there and network and get your name out there. So I'll give you an example. Our first franchisees in South Carolina, they're actually growing a lot quicker than I anticipated. They are growing quicker than I ever did. She called me one day stressed out. She's like, what do I do? I'm already getting referrals. I haven't toured all these communities. I'm like, well, first of all, that's kind of a good problem to have, that you're out there and you're already getting business. So I'm like, we just have to prioritize. Okay. So for example, you get this referral. What area of town are they looking for? Because they have a 3-territory package. So just kind of walking them through the process of how to juggle that in the first 6 months, because it can get a little hectic. I'm sure it's like that with any business, but that first 6 months, a lot of networking, a lot of touring of the communities. Once your communities are toured, the networking will start paying off. Then you're going to start getting calls. We'll say, just hypothetically speaking, we'll say 6 months. You'll start getting, the calls will start coming in consistently. So now you're not able to do as much networking. And now you're dealing more with the families and the clients, doing assessments, taking them on tours and that sort of stuff. So that would be the biggest difference, just the first 6 months compared to 6 months on.
I agree with everything you said. So now I have some questions about the revenue. What is the revenue? There's got to be a glass ceiling. It's one person hitting the street, generating these revenue opportunities. What do you think the cap is or expectation is? Can I hire someone, this 3rd person, and can I expect that 3rd person to do $250,000 a year in revenue to the company? Or no, that's impossible?
Yes and no, not in the beginning, because this area of Cincinnati we're going to, it's a whole new business development area. So
Okay.
there's going to be a ramp up time. The whole network, same thing. They're going to have to do a lot of networking, learning the communities. So the first 6 months, it's probably going to be a little bit slower, but then, eventually it is very fair to ask a territory to generate 250,000 in revenue.
It is fair.
It's very fair.
Per rep.
Yeah.
And then they kind of hit a glass ceiling, and it's time for you to hire a second person and a third person and scale the business, which is what you clearly have done at over 600 grand of revenue.
Yeah.
Your competitors are doing it like 140.
Well,
and I think that's why Justin made his comment. Is that where you got your comment from? A solopreneur doing $140 a year, 200 a year, Justin?
Well, I think, that's how we've always sold it, right? To me, this has always been a model for people who didn't want to have employees. Look at something like this, go out and make six figures.
Yep. I mean, if my long-term goal was not to franchise, I would still be in my business, working it, doing just fine, being as happy as can be. But that was not my long-term goal. Somebody who comes into the system, you can just do 1 or 2 territories and just work it on your own. And that's perfectly fine. The first family we brought in, they were very clear. We want to build and then hire out and then continue to expand across South Carolina. Same with the second, and I said, it's fine. I just don't want somebody to come in and think it's just going to be absentee ownership and then just hire somebody. Because again, I think you really need to understand the gravity of the situation in people's lives that we're actually dealing with. It should be more than just an investment money opportunity. I really want your heart to be in it. I feel like it's fair to ask to be in it for, at least a couple of years so you can get a feel for this is what the industry's doing. This is what these families are going through. Here's the emotional problems that they're going through. So they can get an appreciation for who they go to hire to replace them in the business.
I completely agree with you. This is the final phase of life for these folks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is it. This is their final place of residence. And they'll probably die there. There's no doubt about it. You need someone that cares. What do they call it? Emotional intelligence. You have to have some, degree of just really caring about people and wanting to be involved. It's funny you say that, because I get these people that want to own like dog daycare and they want to own these schools. I'm like, you going to be involved? No, I'm an IT guy. I just want to buy them. It's like, you're dealing with people's children, which is now the same as a pet. The pet is just the child with just fur on it. I'm like, you got to be involved. You can't just, that's it? Like, that's how little you think of the customer. The customer is someone's child. You know what I mean? This is someone's loved one, mom, dad, whoever.
We mentioned earlier me working with Brand One, and I told them, here are the things I'm looking for. We're really not interested in somebody who just wants to make an investment out of this and just buy it and then hire people. We want people to be intimately involved, at least in the beginning.
They are. Brand One is, they're selective. They're not just out there trying to jam deals into their franchisors. They're not. Jason Barclay loves turning my people away. Loves it.
Jason. That's great. Any national accounts? Where do you see this going? Any way to negotiate a deal where the franchisee is not getting out on the street to create that referral arrangement? Any way to just do a deal with a large? We actually worked for a guy that owned what is today Atria. Is it Atria or Atria, right? Yeah. It used to be Capson Senior Quarters, and then they sold it to Lazard Frere, a PE firm, and then it ended up being Atria. Any national accounts where it's already done? Just need a franchisee.
I kind of steer away from them, and I'll tell you why. I feel like at the local level, we can get better contracts in place than just a broad national contract with an Atria or a Brookdale. We have regional in with Atria and Brookdale, but I feel like my experience has shown me that at the local level, you can usually get better terms on your contracts.
What's the goal for the term? What are we looking at? 1 month of rent is what Justin said. What are you looking for out of the deal for a placement?
My average is about 94% of the first month's rent and care levels.
Okay.
Now, did I start off that way? No. I started off probably on an average of 80%. So it took me some time for these people, like these communities, to trust me. And rightfully so, I can respect that. But over time, it's funny how, these communities would reach out. They're like, hey, you're sending us very appropriate people. And we want to reward you with that because we want you to keep sending us more people because your people are staying here longer. So they would, bump up my commissions on the contracts. And that was out without me even reaching out and asking. I've been reached out by a few communities to do that.
Is there any tail, any residual on compensation, or no? It's I get my payment and I'm out.
Yeah, one-time deal.
One-time deal.
And that's up to the franchisee to negotiate this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We provide the contracts. It's your business. I mean, if you want to change some parts of this contract to make it more suitable to you or your region, by all means, let's talk about it.
Interesting. Do you have situations where the family member was placed, not happy, calls you again and says, you need to relocate us? Where should we go?
All the time.
Yeah, that's getting double
primary
paid.
Reason why I did this, because I would be, when I was treating an assisted living.
He's always wrong once.
Matt got excited. Yeah, I love it.
All the time, man. I can't even tell you how many times family members would call me like, yeah, we just moved in here 4 months ago. We got to move out.
Oops.
Help us with that.
I never seem to get it right on the first placement. So it's a high, it's actually, we'll call them a frequent flyer. They come back. It's like, hey,
exactly
mom's not happy.
To avoid. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And then you get paid again.
Well, no, what I'm saying is we have, honestly, I can't think off the top of my head where somebody that we've placed has come back to me and said, hey, we need to go somewhere else.
We were seeing dollar signs.
Matt,
I was talking about,
we were ready to start misplacing everyone.
We were going to misplace everybody.
Is like families who would call me who already had mom or dad in assisted living.
Okay.
Oh, you're coming in after. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I get those all the time.
What a buzzkill.
You're cleaning up the mess. Yeah, well, that's...
Sorry, I must have misunderstood you there.
That's all right.
We were about to reinvent your whole business model.
I'm like, Matt is definitely going to ask us to edit this. Guys, you made a comment that I'm wrong the first time. They are. I'm cleaning up their mess.
Right. Yeah.
All right, now I get it. All right, well, that's interesting to me because that's less friction because, hey, mom needs to go into a facility. Yeah, mom doesn't want to go. She's kicking and screaming. Mom's already there. The loved one's already in the facility. All we need to do is now show them the light at the end of the tunnel and say, this facility is way better than where you're at now. I like that.
Those are definitely easier.
Yeah. That's interesting. I had National Justin. I think I've asked. I mean, referral sources, I'm crystal clear. I'm not necessarily crystal clear on the item 19. I don't know how granular it gets. Are you looking at it?
661 top line, 298 gross profit. I would think that there's not a lot below GP.
The biggest one's salaries and commissions to the employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is labor included in that gross profit number?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
I mean, there's not a lot of moving parts to this business. Market, referral sources, meet with the families, show them the facilities that you have already visited and believe in and know that they're very good choices. Place the resident, get paid, repeat, rinse, wash, the whole cycle continues.
Simple model, home-based, few employees. Even if you decide to scale beyond yourself, 2, 3, 4 people, they're white-collar, skilled, sophisticated salespeople. I'm sure you're compensating them well. I'm sure it's commission.
Yeah, so we offer our employees, so we give them a base, and then we give them commission based on productivity.
Your investment range is $74,000 to $116,900. Sounds like you can get into this business under 100K. You could buy multiple territories, like your franchisee there in South Carolina. If they want to scale something big, you can buy more turf. Yep. You have a huge growing market. There's plenty of runway here. I mean, this is not like ending anytime soon, the aging baby boomers that we talked about.
It's recession resilient. It's private pay. You don't have insurance. Right now, I had a guy the other day talk to me. He's like, hey, I want to do this because of the government reimbursement. I'm like, I wouldn't buy anything right now that is attached to government subsidy. These two guys, Doge, are going in there. You want to be in the business in 2025, January, no less.
Here comes Doge with a jackhammer.
Exactly. I go, you should think of that. Why would you buy a business right now that is making a living suckling on the federal government? Come on. That's crazy. Your business has no risks that way. You are straight up private pay. You either have the money or you don't. It's simple.
And we're Amazon proof.
You are absolutely AI proof. You're Amazon. I have to say Temu now. Everyone's going to Temu with all this purchase. And you're right. These are the businesses that we like. Tried, true, recession resilient, very few employees, asymmetrical, highly scalable, and legacy. A lot of people are really, as they enter their 50s, they're really looking back at their life and saying, what have I done? What's my legacy? This is a legacy brand where you honestly can put your head on the pillow and say, shit, I have saved, with an S on my chest, a lot of families from grief. That's rewarding. Mm-hmm. It's a feel good. It's actually very cool. I like your model. And you're working with the right people, which is more important. You see, we like a lot of models, like Justin said, but they can't sell. They can't get deals done. They can't support their franchisees. They can't get the brand moving. And then they pause development because they suck. You're with the right people that'll help you get this thing built out properly, expand your distribution channel, and give you the guidance. Listen to those guys. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Brand One and SMB. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for, those folks. So I'll just put that out there.
Right, good call. Justin, I'm good, man. I thought this was excellent.
I'm good as well. Thanks for coming on, Matt.
I appreciate the time, man. It's nice to meet y'all.